Mr. Chairman, today we salute the late Sir Lynden Pindling, past leader of the Progressive Liberal Party, member of this Honourable House for 41 years, member of Parliament for the Southern District here in New Providence from 1956 to 1967, for the constituency of South Andrews, Kemps Bay, as it was then known, from 1967 to 1997, Premier of the Bahamas from 1967 to 1969, and Prime Minister from that time in 1969 to 1992. Sir Lynden was a man for and of his time. His accomplishments are many, in some respects singular. No one else will have the opportunity to bring about majority rule in the Bahamas. That was his singular act. No one else will have the opportunity to lead us to independence. We are that, and he did that. Today, I have not come to deify Sir Lynden. I have not today come to elevate Sir Lynden to sainthood. These states he, like me, like all of us, could not and did not attain. I have not come to excuse or explain Sir Lynden's shortcomings, his failures, his wrongdoings, or his unbecoming behavior, actions, or deeds. I would not, and he would not have expected that I would do so. I have not come to minimize, to make light of, or to sweep under a carpet what is known in the Bahamas and outside the Bahamas about him. He knew I would not do that. Today I've come, though, to pay tribute to Sir Lynden, to celebrate his life, to speak of the good he did for our Bahamas, the good he did for me, to speak about what he meant to and did for the masses, indeed, what he did for the Bahamas. And today I've come to express appreciation and thanks for the life and service of Lynden Pindling, Privy Councillor, Knight Commander of the Most Excellent Order of St. Michael and St. George, recipient of the Bahamas Order of Merit, and a man whose life service to the Parliament and people of the Bahamas in frontline politics spans all but 12 years of my 53 years here on God's earth. For his transgressions, Sir Lynden was chastised, punished, and repudiated by the Bahamian people in 1992 when they removed him from the office of Prime Minister, and again in 1997 when they soundly rebuffed his efforts to regain that position. That was a great punishment because Sir Lynden had come to believe that he would remain in high office for so long as he might choose. Today, we do not seek to do as the Romans did. That is, to bury the good that a man does with his bones and to permit the evil to live after him. Today, I have come to give testimony. Notwithstanding all other things said about Sir Lynden, I assert that Lynden Oscar Pindling's accomplishments and achievements outweigh by far his shortcomings and his failures. He was, until the end, the consummate politician, engaged, focused, single-minded, adept, and skilled. He was a pragmatist, not dogmatic. Indeed, it was my view that Sir Lynden held no strong political views. Called leftist by some internationally, he was certainly no socialist. Castigated by some as a dictator, he was not. Jealous of his position as leader and prime minister, he was. Harsh, indeed brutal and uncompromising in his dealings with those he felt or perceived to be disloyal, he was. Loyal to his friends, even to a fault, he was also. Committed to economic empowerment, particularly of the small, ordinary Bahamian, he was. Uncomfortable with capitalist schemes without social safety nets, he was. A vision for improved housing for low and middle income Bahamian families, which he communicated to me orally and in writing when he appointed me as his first standalone Minister of Housing in 1992, he had. At that time, Mr. Chairman, in 1982, when he appointed me as Minister of Housing in 1982, I meant to say, at that time in 1982, he and his government had been in office for 15 years, and notwithstanding pronouncements and promises to do otherwise, his government and his party were still struggling to complete Yellow Elder Gardens housing subdivision commenced by the previous United Bahamian Party government some 20 years earlier. And even this subdivision remained incomplete in 1982, with hundreds of available lots and more than 100 homes in respect of which construction had commenced, but work had discontinued. Resulting from that vision of Sir Lynden's about housing, we now have Elizabeth Estates and Flamingo Gardens, government housing in Nassau Village, Palm Tree Estates subdivision on Blue Hill Road, government housing in Fox Hill here in New Providence, a subdivision in government housing in East Coral Estates in Grand Bahama, and another housing subdivision in Freeport, a housing subdivision in 8 Mile Rock, Grand Bahama, and a housing subdivision in South Andros. Sir Lynden was, Mr. Chairman, a patriot who gained recognition, allegiance and love at home for his vision of a developed Bahamas with opportunities for more and more Bahamians. Our Bahamas, with an archives department, a national insurance scheme, universal education for all up to high school, a college of the Bahamas, and employment opportunities to forestall a diaspora suffered by so many small developing states in our region. He took part in regional and international organizations and initiatives because, in my view, it was required of a leader of an independent state. Certainly not because he sought a place on the world stage. as appeared to be the case during the 1980s. Perhaps the only exception to this rule was his commitment to fight apartheid in South Africa and to oppose the invasion by the Americans and others of Grenada. Since his death, Mr. Chairman, the international press has not been kind to Sir Lynden. In fact, they have been scathing. Whether it's the Independent newspaper of the United Kingdom, or it is the Observer in the UK, or the Times, or the New York Times, they have not been kind. In my view, they have sought to give undue weight and, in some instances, untruthful accounts of the wrongdoings by this man today, the man to whom and on whose behalf I now pay tribute. Some accounts, for instance, Mr. Chairman, have been unbalanced, unfair, and sensational. Indeed, in at least one instance, I sincerely believe that he and his family were libeled. With my contribution here today, while not seeking to forget the other part of his life, I seek to ensure that the good which Sir Lynden did is remembered. The international press do not know Sir Lynden as we did, nor did they know the Bahamas pre-Pindling and post-Pindling as we do, as we lived and as we are living it. They didn't live in pre-Pindling Bahamas as disenfranchised people and second-class citizens with limited scope for advancement, politically, educationally, socially or economically. No, they didn't know the glass ceiling that blocked the progress of the vast majority of the people of the Bahamas. Hence, they do not understand our appreciation of Sir Lynden for being the instrument by and through which that glass ceiling was shattered. And they do not know the depth of gratitude and appreciation which the Bahamian people sincerely feel for the father of the modern Bahamian nation. Lynden Pindling was the son of a policeman and of a shopkeeper. He was not from among the disenfranchised in the Bahamas. He was. There have been, and there will continue to be, many recommendations and suggestions on how best the nation might recognize Sir Lynden, how best it might honor his memory and commemorate his life's work for the Bahamian people. I wish to advise that the government has decided that Sir Lynden's image will adorn a new Bahamian banknote to be issued prior to the end of this year, that a commemorative stamp will be issued in his honor, and that a public building and or infrastructural feature will be named in his honor also. And it has been determined that a suitable monument shall be raised in honor of Sir Lynden in an appropriate public place of prominence. To be determined is whether, as has been the case in the United States of America, we place Sir Lynden's image, as America has done with George Washington, the father of that nation, on the $1 note, or whether the population would prefer that his image be placed on the $100 note. From our point of view, the denomination of no note is too high to place his image on. And for those who seek to give Sir Lynden's image great prominence, and for it to be seen regularly by the man in the street, the $1 note would appear to be most appropriate. However, I've been made to understand that there is also support for having his image placed on a note of higher value. For example, the $100 note. I was pleased to hear the leader of the opposition say that he thinks the $1 note would be an appropriate note. We will listen a little more before we make some decisions. I might also say that we were the ones who decided since 1992 that the portrait of Bahamians be placed on Bahamian notes. That was not the policy of the government of the Bahamas before we came. Only the Queen could go on, Her Majesty the Queen could go on notes before the time of the F&M. We also determined that we would not put any living soul on the notes, that we would reserve it for those substantial contributors to the Bahamas who died. And notwithstanding the merit of Sir Lynden being on the note, he would not be considered by this government for such an honor to take place while he was alive. But the question as to whether he is deserving of it does not arise. He is most deserving of it. It is also agreed by the government, Mr. Chairman, that a National Heroes Day will be celebrated in the Bahamas as a public holiday to honor men and women who, like Sir Lynden, have contributed to the development of our country. However, because the government believes that a number of public holidays observed in the Bahamas is now adequate and ought not be added to, it has been determined that Discovery Day public holiday, now observed on October 12th, will be converted to a National Heroes Day, and October 12th this year will be the last observance of Discovery Day on this government's watch. It is proposed that the new holiday to begin next year, not the new holiday so that nobody's confused, the substituted holiday, because the number of holidays in the Bahamas are still going to be only 10. We believe that 10 holidays are reasonable for a society such as the Bahamas, especially in view of the other things we are doing now, reducing the work week to 5-day work week by law, reducing the week hours from 48 to 40 hours. We believe that the number of holidays of 10 or so per year is reasonable. It is proposed that this holiday be on a fixed day rather than on a date of the month. On a fixed day, such as the first Monday or Friday of the month, be that October or another month. One of the things that we do take account of in determining when the holiday ought to be the fact that children are able to enjoy this holiday also. And so one wants to make sure that any substitute holiday takes place at a time when children are not denied the holiday they used to have on October 12th in any year. Additionally, I wish to advise, Mr. Chairman, that Sir Lynden will be amongst, if not the first Bahamian hero, to be recognized in a National Heroes Park.